What happens when one of Hollywood's most private stars confronts public mockery of his deepest beliefs? When celebrated talk show host Vanessa Reynolds invited Keanu Reeves onto her primetime show Unfiltered, everyone expected the usual celebrity banter and promotional small talk. Instead, they witnessed a profound moment that transcended entertainment, challenged cultural cynicism, and touched millions of souls worldwide. The encounter that began with calculated mockery ended with unexpected tears, genuine vulnerability, and a silence so powerful it continues to reverberate through social media, living rooms, and hearts around the globe. Before we journey through this remarkable story, one that reminds us of the quiet power of unshakable faith in a cynical world, tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We love connecting with our global community and hearing how these stories of authentic humanity impact your lives. The atmosphere inside Studio 8 crackled with anticipation. The Unfiltered set gleamed under professional lighting, sleek midnight blue furniture arranged precisely on glossy charcoal floors, strategic spotlights creating dramatic shadows, and oversized ultra-high-definition screens broadcasting the show's iconic logo in pulsing neon blue. Every element had been meticulously designed to convey edginess, exclusivity, and unapologetic boldness. The studio audience, a carefully selected mix of young professionals, entertainment industry hopefuls, and social media influencers, murmured excitedly as production assistants scurried about making final adjustments. Many already had phones partially raised, ready to capture potentially viral moments. The show's pre-broadcast energy had become legendary in itself. Everyone present understood they weren't just watching television. They were participating in potential cultural moments, tomorrow's trending topics being manufactured before their eyes. Backstage, Vanessa Reynolds paced methodically in her private green room, scanning her note cards one final time, while a makeup artist applied quick touch-ups to her flawless complexion. At 38, Vanessa had transformed herself from a regional morning show host to one of network television's most recognized personalities, building her career on a foundation of sharp wit, fearless questioning, and an uncanny ability to create memorable moments of celebrity discomfort. Her trademark approach, pleasant conversation suddenly pivoting to uncomfortable provocation, had turned Unfiltered into a ratings powerhouse and social media phenomenon. 6 massive monitors adorned her green room walls, each displaying different metrics: real-time social media engagement, comparative ratings from competing shows, demographic breakdowns of her current audience, and clips from previous episodes that had generated the most online traction. Television wasn't just entertainment anymore, it was data-driven content creation, and Vanessa was a master of the new landscape. Tonight's guest promised exceptional potential for both ratings and viral moments. Keanu Reeves, promoting his latest action thriller, represented a unique challenge, universally respected, philosophically inclined, but intensely private about his deepest beliefs. Celebrities with strong religious convictions always offered particularly rich material. Faith made for perfect television friction, deeply personal yet culturally divisive, emotionally charged yet impossible to definitively prove or disprove. 5 minutes to broadcast, called the floor director through the intercom, his voice betraying the controlled stress of live television production. Vanessa nodded, smoothing her emerald blazer. The color had tested well with focus groups, conveying authority while maintaining approachability. She studied her reflection, mentally shifting into the charismatic public persona that had made her famous. Vanessa Reynolds, the woman who asked what everyone was thinking, but no one dared say. The door opened as Mark Wilson, the show's executive producer, entered carrying 2 coffee cups and wearing the slightly harried expression of someone perpetually calculating engagement metrics in his head. At 45, Mark had navigated the treacherous evolution from traditional broadcast to digital-first content, understanding before most that emotional reaction, not information, drove modern audience engagement. "Final numbers from yesterday's episode," he said, handing her both a coffee and a tablet displaying multicolored analytics graphs. "Engagement peaked precisely when you pushed the climate scientist on his personal carbon footprint. Hypocrisy angles always perform well." Vanessa scanned the data with practiced efficiency. "And tonight's social media pre-show buzz?" "Massive. Keanu hasn't done a major one-on-one sit-down in almost 18 months. People are speculating whether you'll go after the grief angle." Mark referred to the well-documented personal tragedies in Reeves's past, losses that the actor had rarely discussed publicly. "Too expected," Vanessa replied, sipping her coffee. "Everyone's watching for that. We need something fresher." Mark nodded toward one of the monitors displaying recent paparazzi photos of their guest arriving at the studio. "Our research team noticed something interesting in pre-interview footage. He's wearing a cross necklace. Has been more frequently at public appearances lately. Not ostentatious, but definitely visible." Vanessa's eyes lit with predatory interest. "Religious angle. Perfect. Exactly. Our metrics show engagement spikes 78% when you challenge celebrity faith perspectives. Viewers love that tension, the discomfort, the potential for reveals or missteps, especially for someone as controlled as Reeves." She smiled, the expression not quite reaching her eyes. "I know exactly which buttons to press. Religion is always fertile ground. Either they get defensive and preachy, or they backpedal and appear ashamed. Win-win." "The team's prepared some scripture references for you," Mark added, sliding a small card into her notes. "Contradictory passages, the usual ammunition. Focus group testing shows audiences particularly enjoy seeing celebrities struggle to defend ancient texts." Vanessa tucked the card among her notes with practiced precision. After hundreds of interviews, she had perfected the art of appearing to converse spontaneously while strategically navigating toward predetermined conflict points. A disembodied voice counted down through her earpiece. 3, 2, 1, as the show's signature electronic theme music rose to a crescendo. 4 robotic cameras began their choreographed dance around the set, as Vanessa strode on stage with practiced dynamism, her walk perfectly calibrated to convey confidence without arrogance, authority without aloofness. The audience erupted into well-rehearsed applause, many rising to their feet as instructed by the glowing standing ovation signs. Their collective energy washed over her like a wave, and she absorbed it, transmuting their enthusiasm into her performance. This feedback loop between performer and audience represented the lifeblood of successful television, a chemical reaction creating something larger than its individual components. "Welcome to Unfiltered, where celebrities have nowhere to hide and hard questions get real answers," Vanessa announced with theatrical flair, her stage voice carrying perfectly to the furthest seats. "I'm Vanessa Reynolds, and tonight we have a guest who hardly needs introduction. The enigmatic, the mysterious, the internet's favorite boyfriend, and the seemingly eternally ageless Keanu Reeves." The crowd roared with genuine excitement, phones raised high to capture the moment. Even in a cynical media landscape, Keanu Reeves remained uniquely beloved, a Hollywood anomaly whose off-screen persona garnered as much fascination as his iconic roles. The side stage doors opened and Keanu entered. His movement contradicted everything the high-energy show typically embodied. No grand entrance, no play to the audience, just understated presence. He wore dark jeans and a charcoal blazer over a simple black t-shirt, his hair longer than in his recent film, and around his neck hung a subtle silver cross on a thin chain. The religious symbol wasn't ostentatious, but in the context of celebrity culture where faith was often either flaunted or hidden, its quiet visibility felt significant. His smile appeared genuine but reserved as he acknowledged the audience with a gentle wave before settling into the guest chair across from Vanessa. The contrast between host and guest was immediately striking, her vibrant energy against his calm stillness, her calculated performance against his natural presence. Keanu, welcome to Unfiltered, Vanessa began, leaning forward with exaggerated interest, her expression calibrated to convey fascination. Let's start with the basics. You've got this massive new action thriller breaking box office records, stunts that would terrify normal humans, and that signature philosophical outlook that keeps fans fascinated. How do you maintain such intensity and authenticity year after year in an industry notorious for burning people out? The question, designed to sound penetrating while actually being safely generic, gave him comfortable territory to explore. Keanu's response came thoughtfully, measured in both pace and content. He spoke about creative passion, the privilege of storytelling, the often unrecognized dedication of stunt teams and crew members who made movie magic possible. His answers reflected genuine appreciation for his craft, without providing anything particularly provocative or clippable for social media soundbites. There's something special about storytelling, he explained, his characteristic cadence unhurried despite the show's typically frenetic pace. When it works, when everyone contributes their best, from writers to directors to the person handling the lights, it becomes more than entertainment. It becomes a shared experience, something that connects people. In the control room, producers exchanged glances. His answers were authentic but not dynamic enough for their format. Nothing controversial, nothing that would drive online conversation. The monitor displaying real-time social media engagement showed steady but unexceptional activity. Vanessa nodded along, her smile never wavering as she waited for her strategic opening. The first segment of her interviews always established rapport before the signature pivot that had become her trademark, the moment when friendly conversation transformed into provocative confrontation. The formula had proven irresistible to audiences: build comfort, then disrupt it precisely when viewers and guests least expected. The conversation flowed through standard territory, filming anecdotes, future projects, motorcycle adventures. The audience remained engaged, but Vanessa sensed they wanted more. Her producer's voice echoed in her earpiece. "Take it deeper. Get the reaction." She shifted subtly, her smile sharpening. "So, Keanu, I've noticed something interesting." The tone change was slight, but unmistakable. "You're wearing a cross tonight." Keanu's hand moved briefly, almost unconsciously, to the silver pendant at his neck. He nodded but offered no elaboration. "That's surprising for someone so..." Vanessa paused, strategically. "Intellectual. Do you really believe in all that? Heaven, hell, divine intervention, especially after everything you've experienced?" The audience stirred, sensing the conversation's pivot. Some exchanged glances, others leaned forward. This was the unfiltered moment they'd come for, the uncomfortable question, the potential for viral content. Keanu didn't immediately respond. His expression remained calm, almost serene. The silence extended just long enough for Vanessa to feel a flicker of uncertainty. "Faith isn't always about intellect," he finally said, voice quiet but clear. "Sometimes it's about finding meaning in places reason can't reach." Vanessa pressed forward, her smile never wavering. "But come on, you've experienced tremendous loss in your life." Her words hung in the air, deliberately invoking his well-known personal tragedies without naming them directly. "Doesn't that make you question the whole someone watching over us narrative?" The audience grew still. Even for Unfiltered, this felt invasive, targeting wounds everyone knew existed but rarely referenced so directly. Keanu's eyes reflected something profound. Not anger, not defensiveness, just a depth of experience few could comprehend. His fingers touched the cross again, not dramatically but with familiarity, like reconnecting with an old friend. "If I'm still standing after everything," he said softly, "it wasn't just luck." The simplicity of his statement created an unexpected gravity. The studio fell silent. No shifting in seats, no whispered comments, just collective stillness. Something had shifted in the atmosphere, a tangible change that even the cameras seemed to sense. lingering on Keanu's face longer than the usual quick cuts. Vanessa felt the momentum slipping away from her. This wasn't the defensive reaction she'd anticipated, the clip-worthy moment of celebrity discomfort. She needed to regain control. Religion, though, she continued, artificial laughter punctuating her words. It's really just stories for people afraid of the dark, isn't it? Comfort for those who can't face reality. I mean, scientifically speaking. Her voice trailed off as she realized the audience wasn't following her lead. The expected laughter didn't materialize. Instead, an uncomfortable awareness spread through the studio, the recognition that they were witnessing something uncomfortably authentic. Keanu remained composed. No counterattack, no visible offense taken. He simply existed in the moment, present with a tranquility that seemed almost out of place in the glaring studio environment. Everyone experiences darkness differently, he offered. Faith isn't always about escaping it. Sometimes it's about finding light within it. The camera caught something unexpected, a slight tremor in Vanessa's hand as she shuffled her cards. For the first time in years of broadcasting, she appeared momentarily unsure of her next move. "We'll take a quick break," she announced, professional smile firmly back in place. "More with Keanu Reeves when we return." As the commercial break began, studio staff rushed to adjust lighting and check sound levels. Vanessa remained in her seat, scrolling through her phone while pointedly avoiding eye contact with her guest. Keanu sat quietly, observing the controlled chaos of the production, neither seeking conversation nor appearing uncomfortable with the silence. In the control room, producers huddled around monitors. "She's losing the room," one muttered. "The audience isn't with her on this one." "Push harder," another directed into Vanessa's earpiece. "Get something we can use for the overnight clips." When the cameras returned, Vanessa's approach intensified. She quoted scripture with theatrical intonation, making exaggerated gestures that mocked religious sermons. She referenced televangelists and scandals, linking faith to gullibility and superstition. "I mean, the meek shall inherit the earth," she said with a sardonic laugh. "Good luck with that in Hollywood." Some audience members laughed, but many shifted uncomfortably. The atmosphere had grown strained, the entertainment value diminishing as the attack became more transparent. Throughout it all, Keanu remained unchanged. No defensiveness, no counter-arguments, no visible irritation. His stillness became increasingly powerful, not passive, but purposeful. When he occasionally touched the cross pendant, the gesture carried a quiet eloquence that made Vanessa's pointed remark seem increasingly hollow. "You're really not going to defend yourself?" she finally asked, frustration seeping into her practiced delivery. "Do you honestly believe someone's looking out for you up there?" Keanu looked at her directly then, his gaze clear and unguarded. When he spoke, his voice carried no judgment, just profound sincerity. "I believe suffering doesn't have to be meaningless," he said. "I believe darkness doesn't have to be the end of the story. And I believe no one who prays in pain is ever truly alone." His words hung in the air, unadorned yet somehow monumental. The audience sat motionless, many visibly moved. A young woman in the front row wiped away a tear. Vanessa opened her mouth to respond, then closed it again. For perhaps the first time in her broadcasting career, she found herself without a ready retort. Something had transcended the performance aspect of the show, something raw and unscripted that couldn't be packaged into viral clips or reduced to trending hashtags. She cleared her throat and attempted to regain control. "Well, that got heavy," she said with forced lightness. "Let's talk about something else. Your motorcycles, maybe." But the shift felt jarring, almost disrespectful after the authentic moment they'd just experienced. Keanu nodded politely and answered her redirected questions, but the energy had fundamentally changed. The audience remained subdued, many still processing what they had witnessed. As the segment neared its conclusion, something unexpected happened. Vanessa's professional veneer cracked slightly. She looked down at her notes, then back at Keanu, and something shifted in her expression. "You know," she said, her voice softer than before, "when I was little, I used to pray every night." The admission seemed to surprise even her, words emerging without the calculated effect that typically characterized her speech. "I'd ask to feel normal, to not be afraid all the time. I'd beg not to go to hell for simply being who I was." The studio fell completely silent. This unscripted vulnerability from a host known for her impenetrable confidence stunned everyone present. "I stopped praying when nothing seemed to change," she continued quietly. "And eventually I started mocking the whole idea. Maybe," she hesitated, "maybe I wasn't laughing at your faith, Keanu. Maybe I was laughing at my pain." Keanu leaned forward slightly, his presence fully attentive. No judgment, no advantage-taking, just complete presence with her unexpected honesty. "I used to think silence meant no one was listening," Vanessa added, barely above a whisper. "But maybe I just didn't know how to listen back." Keanu offered a small, gentle smile. "The most profound answers often come in silence," he said quietly. "Sometimes we're just too busy talking to notice." As the segment ended, neither moved immediately. Something unplanned yet important had transpired between them, and the audience had witnessed it all. The cameras lingered longer than usual, capturing the genuine human connection that had unexpectedly emerged from attempted mockery. When the show finally cut to commercial, the studio remained unusually quiet. No immediate chatter, no rushing to phones, no animated discussions about what they'd witnessed. Just collective processing of an experience that had somehow transcended entertainment, leaving everyone present, from camera operators to audience members, in a state of contemplative silence. In the control room, executives stared at their monitors in confusion. The real-time analytics displayed patterns they'd never encountered. Viewer retention was at unprecedented levels, but the usual social media activity markers had transformed completely. Instead of the rapid-fire meme creation and outraged sharing that typically drove their metrics, audience engagement had shifted toward something their algorithms struggled to categorize: thoughtful, extended reflection. "What just happened?" demanded the network's senior vice president, who had been watching the broadcast remotely and now stood in the doorway, his expression wavering between concern and curiosity. The social media director shook her head, eyes fixed on her screens. "They're not creating the usual content types. No raid shares, no mockery clips, no celebrity takedown threads." She scrolled through incoming data. "It's different. People are sharing longer quotes, personal reflections, many just saying they need time to process what they witnessed." Within 3 hours of the broadcast, clips began circulating online, not the anticipated moments of celebrity discomfort that typically drove unfiltered metrics, but instead footage of Keanu's quiet dignity juxtaposed with Vanessa's unexpected vulnerability. The segment where his simple, "If I'm still standing after everything, it wasn't just luck," statement had created profound studio silence became the most shared television moment of the month. Comments flooded in from viewers worldwide, remarkable not for their volume but for their unusual depth in a platform typically characterized by snark and superficiality. "I've never seen someone win an argument without arguing. This isn't about religion. It's about dignity. The way he touched that cross wasn't performative. It was like watching someone draw strength from something genuine. When was the last time we saw anything real on television? Did anyone else cry when she talked about praying as a child? I recognize myself in that moment and can't stop thinking about it. I'm not religious at all, but found myself respecting his quiet faith more than the loud emptiness that surrounds us daily. What does that say about our culture?" The conversation expanded beyond the show itself, morphing into something unexpected in modern media, a genuinely thoughtful cultural dialogue. Major publications commissioned think pieces examining society's tendency to mock sincere faith, the power of dignified silence in a noisy world, and the apparent hunger for authentic spiritual dialogue in an increasingly cynical landscape. Religious leaders from diverse traditions weighed in, many noting that Keanu's approach embodied spiritual principles more authentically than many public religious figures. "He demonstrated the rarest form of faith," wrote one prominent rabbi, "one that doesn't need to announce itself because it's too busy being lived." Psychologists discussed the powerful human response to witnessing vulnerability transform into connection. "What happened in that studio wasn't just good television," explained Dr. Eleanor Richards on a morning news program. "It was a moment of genuine human recognition, the kind our digital lives often deprive us of. People are responding to the authenticity, not the content." 26 hours after the broadcast, behind-the-scenes footage leaked online. The 3-minute clip, apparently recorded on a production assistant's phone, revealed pre-show preparations with producers explicitly instructing Vanessa to hit the religious angle hard and make him defend that cross he wears. Mark could be heard explaining, "Spiritual beliefs are perfect targets. They're deeply personal, but impossible to prove. Push him to either appear defensive or backpedal in embarrassment. Either way, we win." The glimpse into the calculated nature of the provocation created a secondary wave of conversation, only heightening public respect for Keanu's composed response. Network executives scrambled to identify the source of the leak while simultaneously preparing damage control strategies, but found themselves in unfamiliar territory. The public reaction wasn't following predictable patterns of outrage and counter-outrage. Instead, the reveal seemed to be prompting deeper questions about media manipulation, manufactured conflict, and the commodification of human vulnerability. The trending hashtag, #faith is not a fault, emerged, with people sharing personal stories about hiding their beliefs to avoid ridicule. Even those without religious affiliations joined the conversation, defending the right to spiritual meaning in an often dismissive culture. Vanessa remained silent on social media for 3 days. When she finally posted, it was just a simple message. "Some moments on live TV aren't scripted, they're human. Last night, I was human, and I'm still processing what that means." The network, initially concerned about potential backlash, was surprised to find audiences responding positively to Vanessa's vulnerability. Her ratings actually increased, with viewers commenting that they connected more with her authentic struggle than her previous performative confidence. A week later, the network announced a special follow-up interview. The promotion was notably different. No provocative taglines, no promises of confrontation, just a conversation that moved millions. When the night arrived, the studio atmosphere had transformed completely. Gone was the aggressive lighting and pulsing background music. Instead, the set featured softer illumination and minimal production elements. The audience seemed different too, less eager for entertainment, more present for experience. Keanu entered wearing the same silver cross. Vanessa greeted him with visible nervousness, her usual polished confidence replaced by genuine uncertainty about how to navigate this unprecedented territory. "Thank you for coming back," she began, her voice gentler than viewers had ever heard it. Keanu nodded. "Thank you for the invitation." As Vanessa began asking how he felt after their previous conversation, something extraordinary occurred. The studio lights flickered briefly, then dimmed completely. All microphones cut out simultaneously. In the darkness, the entire set fell into perfect silence for several seconds. When the systems restored, something had subtly changed. Vanessa sat looking at Keanu with tears welling in her eyes, though nothing had been said. The audience remained absolutely still, sensing they were witnessing something beyond technical malfunction. "I don't know what that was," Vanessa whispered, her composure completely abandoned. Keanu looked at her with gentle certainty. "It was never about winning a debate. he said softly. It was about touching a soul. The audience didn't applaud. They didn't cheer or reach for phones. They simply sat in collective presence with what had just transpired, a moment of shared humanity that transcended entertainment. Later, technicians would attribute the blackout to a power surge. Producers would label it a technical glitch. But for those present, the explanation felt insufficient. Something had happened in that darkness, something that couldn't be captured in ratings or explained in production terms. In the days that followed, the 10-second clip of the studio blackout and the exchange immediately afterward became the most shared video in the show's history. Not because anything spectacular had happened, but because millions recognized something authentic in that moment of unexpected silence. Philosophers, theologians, and neuroscientists appeared on news programs attempting to explain why this simple moment had resonated so deeply. One neurologist observed, "The human brain responds to that kind of authentic pause like it does to profound music or meditation, with measurable calm and connection." A cultural critic noted, "In a world where everyone's shouting to be heard, Keanu showed us the power of being still. It wasn't about belief systems. It was about remembering how to be human." 3 weeks after the second interview, Vanessa announced she was taking a sabbatical from Unfiltered to reconnect with what matters. In her absence, the show's format shifted noticeably. Less confrontation, more genuine conversation. Keanu never publicly discussed either appearance. His only acknowledgement was a single photo posted to his rarely used social media account. A simple wooden table bearing a worn book with his silver cross resting gently on top. The caption read only, "Sometimes silence is the most powerful answer." The image needed no explanation, no hashtags, no promotion. It found its way naturally into hearts and minds, not as viral content but as quiet reminder. Perhaps this story was never really about television ratings or celebrity encounters. Perhaps it was about something far simpler and infinitely more profound. The reminder that in a world addicted to noise, sometimes the most powerful testimony is silence. And sometimes the most genuine faith isn't found in what we proclaim loudly, but in how we stand quietly in our truth, even when facing mockery. For those who witnessed Keanu's gentle strength that night, something essential was awakened. Not necessarily religious conversion, but a remembrance that faith, in whatever form it takes, isn't something to be ashamed of or hidden away. That dignity doesn't require defense. That some truths speak most clearly when whispered, or even when not spoken at all. If you were moved by this story, please share it with someone who might need this reminder today. And tell us in the comments, has someone ever respected your beliefs when they could have mocked them instead? Those moments of unexpected grace often change us more than we realize.